If you realize what I'm talking about when I'm doing these discussions, I'm fortifying you mentally to be able to endure that, because that's where everybody quits. Those moments, that's where everybody loves it. They're walking around with perpetual erections, in the male category of my students when they're making money. They're walking around, and I'm gonna tell you something. When they do the right things with ICT concept, that is Viagra. Okay, guaranteed, girlfriends and wives are satisfied. Okay, they're getting everything they hoped for the weekend or that evening. But when they don't listen to sound logic, okay, it's dysfunction. It's dysfunction. And it takes the wind out of your sails completely. And for those of you that are male, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could be going to the gym working out. You could be fit as a fiddle. You could be having the right duds. You could be dressed out and macked out with all the nice whips and cars, and you're doing well. But when you lose and you know you did it to yourself, it sucks. You don't want to be looked at by anybody else. You don't want to be judged by anybody else. You don't even want to talk about charting. You don't even talk about trading. You want to ignore it. Well, those moments, unless you rein that in properly, that will lead into a tailspin, because you're going to want to fix that bad feeling, that toxic feeling of, a small little segment of failure. That's not the end of your career. But if you have not been properly mentored and spoken to with mindset, how do you wrestle with the struggles of doing this? Because it's one thing to talk about, this is what works in this instance in the marketplace. But what happens when you do it wrong, understandably in the beginning, because you're learning, you're getting an experience. Every time you sit down and you study the market, if you're using that 2022 mentorship model, you have a specific expectation in the marketplace. And every transaction and time invested, you're getting experience from it. It may not be a positive one where you come out where, oh, I would have made money if I would have did this. If you go into this initially expecting that as a constant or majority of the results, you're going to be discouraged. Why? Doesn't this stuff work, Michael? Yes, it does. But it works well in the hands of an apt pupil. Someone that's been doing all the things, taking notes, studying, using all the supportive lessons beyond the first 5 or so videos in that mentorship series. I saw a young man tweet to me the other day. He said, yeah, I watched the first couple videos and I figured it out from that point on. I'm doing great. I don't like those comments, and I'm not going to high five that, because you don't know what you're doing. And I have no problem telling you that. And it's my content. You don't know what you're doing. Okay. If I thought it was just the first few videos that were necessary, that's all I would have done. But you need supportive understanding and things that you're going to encounter. When does a fair value gap likely fail? When do you classify it as something other than a trade entry or target? These are all going to be problems for you when you start pushing a button, whether it be demo, paper trading, or foolishly entering into live trading too soon. You want to go in with your mission statement read every single time before you watch a video. So that way you're reminding yourself, okay, I can talk about a lot of things, and you will be able to filter out the things where I'm talking about other people, because I got to get it off my chest, and reminding everyone that this is really where you're supposed to be finding it from, not watered down versions of it. But then you'll go into harvesting and pulling out the things the meat. You'll get to what it is, the point. Everybody's saying get to the point. The point is you're getting the stuff that makes you better as a trader, because I've already taught you how to trade. I've taught everybody how to do that. But how do you become a consistently profitable trader? Well, excuse me. You get that by listening to someone that's endured lots of losing, and the things that I did to stem that and keep it at bay, and also in many ways understand the pitfalls that lead to that. And that stuff, when you're young as a developing student, and this is for the females too, not just the males, I'm not beating up on you guys only. This culture that we have today, it is, give it to me right now. And if you can't give it to me right now, I'm unsubscribing. Good, unsubscribe. Because the way I teach, I do it in such a way where I'm filtering people out. And that pisses people off. And I want them to lose their mind initially, because if you're going to lose your mind about me and how I teach, because I know how this is learned, I know how it's taught properly, but I also know there's going to be problem personalities that are going to be problem traders. But there are people that are not mentally prepared to suffer in their own hands. And that's what you're going to do as a trader. And nobody says it like that, but that's exactly what it is. You put yourself, I put myself, we all put ourselves in situations where it absolutely is painful, and loss will be the result. There is not ever been a trader that has ever gone out there and done it 100%. I lose. Okay, I get it wrong sometimes. Okay, bottom line is it doesn't kill me to the point where I'm going to give up or toss out the concept. You know, that model, that 2022 model, it can look like it's really in the chart, and your analysis line up like, hey, man, I'm going to do this trade, and you put the trade on, whether it's paper, demo, or live, and it will fail sometimes. It didn't fail. You did. When I do it wrong, I do it wrong, and I record it that way in my journal. You need to record it in your journal that way too. If you do that, number one, it teaches and fortifies personal responsibility. And when you're basically inputting that in your journal, every single time you do it, you're going to have also increments where you'll have it done right. And that's the key. That's the superpower juice, if you want to call it, that keeps you going. Because I can tell you anything in these rants and these discussions that you might find encouraging. You might find that that little nudge that you need to keep going. No problem. But even me talking to you and encouraging you won't take away every bit of it. It just distracts you from what you were thinking and feeling. And when you stop listening to these things, you'll remember that you did major damage to yourself. You overtraded. You did more trades than you should have. You listened to somebody else on social media that influenced you, and you wrecked your ass. But you have to have an approach to doing this with a sober mindset. And coming in, starting right away with the model of 2022, it gives you the nuts and bolts. This is what it looks like. This is what a model looks like. This is what trading looks like. This is how you go in. You decipher what market bias will look like. Where do you place your stop loss? How do you take partials? When do you stop? When do you trade in the day? Do you sit down and trade all day long, 24 hours a day? Fuck no, you don't do that. Nobody should be doing that as a new student. Nobody. And any fucking asshole going out there saying that they should do that, they're fucking clowns. There's advantages to trading the times I've told you. Period. Now, but ICT, you traded outside. Yes, I do that to thumb my nose at everybody that says I have only certain times of the day where I trade and I can do that. I do everything. And anything I want, I can step in there and do it. But because I can do it doesn't mean it's an invitation for you to try to replicate what I do. Because you don't have the experience, you don't have the tools, you don't have all the resources I have that allow me to do those types of things. But I've given you a specific model that allows you to have a foundation that puts you right in the charts, and that's where you should begin. Now, what should you do if you've gone through the 2022 mentorship and you're consistently finding setups, not 100% accurate, but you're consistently finding setups, and you're consistent in your paper trading? The question is going to be, how will you know when to go into live trading? You'll know that when you know it. Nobody will convince you otherwise. That's how you know. I never tell any of my students, go and start trading live. That never happens. Never happened. I've never had a paid member talk to me in an email or in a forum, and never, ever have I ever done publicly said, go into live trading. No. If they've said, I'm going into live trading, I immediately go in with, go slow, don't trade a lot, and keep your risk ultra light. It's all public. Because I know what happens, and they're going to find out too, and just like you will if you ever go from paper and demo to live trading, some little magical experience takes place where suddenly doubt, fear, trepidation goes off the charts. You abandon everything you learned and you become more interested in protecting your first trade. So it's actually better for you just to flip a fucking coin, buy or sell based on heads or tails. Okay, just get that shit out of the way. The first trade, you're all going to worry about whether if it's a winning trade or a losing trade. Just put it in the hands of risk. Put the risk in the hands of chance. Put it the smallest amount of leverage you could possibly have on the trade. And if you think you want to take a trade and you're worried about whether or not you're gonna be right or wrong, just flip a coin. If it's heads, you buy it. If it's tails, you sell it. And then whatever happens, you got it out of the way. It's done. It's one transaction. You've lost your virginity in terms of live trading. That fear is gone now. So now just work going forward. I remember my first trade with Fox Investments, where I bought that orange juice option and lost 50% overnight. Very first trade. I was scared shitless. I was like, man, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do this? And I just couldn't stand anymore. I was afraid to miss it, and I was afraid to do it. So I just said, fuck it. I'm just doing it. Order in, and it was done. And then next day I woke up, I lost 50% of the amount of money I put into the option. No idea what I was doing. But that relief of having done it, got it out of the way, that fear and trepidation was gone. Even though I lost 50% of the option premium I paid for in my very first trade. Now think about this. Go back to the mission statement I was talking about. When I first sat down to learn how to trade, I was going to be a commodity trader and I was going to trade position trading. But my first trade wasn't based on that. It was based on 3 days using an option. The fuck was I doing that for? I was in a hurry to be doing something. And that's what a lot of you are doing. You watch a couple videos, whether it be mine or someone else's, and you think you saw this before, and you go into the chart and you're looking for something that resembles what you think you've learned in 1 or 2 videos. And then you push a button, and then you're shocked at the results not being what you expected. That's doing it wrong. My children have messed around in paper trading and demo accounts doing the same thing. It's normal. It's normal. You wanted to be able to sit down, watch a video or 2, and then go in there and be able to find something that banks, investment firms, big, huge trading entities are in here running roughshod over everybody with. And you think you're going to watch a couple ICD videos or anybody else's bullshit and walk out there and push a couple buttons and all of a sudden all this starts falling in your hands and you're rich now? Man, I've never taught that. I've never taught that at all. I have been the largest opponent to that shit than anybody else on YouTube. That's what makes me boring, because I'm not out there being that flashy person and telling you, do this, do that. I'm telling you, be fucking boring. Be boring, get 25 pips a week. 25 pips a week. If you can do that, you can make a lot of money if you're consistent. You can make that whatever you want it to be. But you can still lose your ass aiming for that 25 pips a week. If you are not diligent, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're reckless, if you're a gambler at heart, you'll do that. But if you go through that 2022 mentorship properly once more, and you find consistency, and maybe you get funded, and now you're taking withdrawals from that funded account and you're getting paid. I have students all around the world that are reporting that. They're bringing their receipts, they're showing you on their own social media accounts and sending it to me on my Twitter. Young man went to the number 2 spot on the FTMO leaderboard, 70 grand. That's results, folks. That's not contrived. That's not paper trading. And that to me, that's awesome. I'm thoroughly impressed. Okay, but there's a lot of other folks that get these smaller little victories that just want to stay quiet and private, and they're not obligated to share their fucking experiences with you. Just like I'm not obligated to do shit for you either. But I love doing it. I love it. But I'm not obligated to any of you. And when you start making money and you see these people trolling what you've learned, you're not fucking obligated to share anything with these people. These people are miserable. They're miserable, or they're competitors and they're just getting their asses kicked by what I'm doing, which is both entertaining. But if you go through that 2022 mentorship and you're consistent and you want to increase your understanding, what's the next logical step in learning? Go through the core content. It's a lot. It is a lot. But because you have that model to work with, you'll be able to respect and understand better where those concepts could be plugged in and where others may not even be of any interest to you. You do not, let me underscore this and preface it before we go any further. You do not need core content lessons. That model, I have made now more private mentorship students consistent and profitable by sharing that publicly. And they went through several years of mentorship with me because they were trying to do everything. They're trying to place all these tools in the proper sequence. There isn't a sequence where you put all these things in the right place. Now, there's a way of leaning on certain approaches to, like, for instance, commitment traders. Okay, that's a long-term tool for intermediate-term trading. It's useful in that regard. Could you use it as a backup or a confluence for your day trades and you're trading only in that direction? Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. Do I need it? Fuck no. You don't need it either.